The surging Blazers have won 3 in a row. They remain 4.5 games out of the play-in, and Shaedon Sharpe went off at Washington. That and more coming up on the Blazer Focus podcast. I am Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian and Oregon Live. I'm here with Craig Birnbach. Craig, what was last time? We talked right. When did we talk last? Was it right before or after the Laker loss? Do you remember?
It's a pop quiz, man. I don't know.
I mean, I can't remember.
I thought it was Wednesday all day. So don't ask me.
Anyway, the Blazers have, after losing 4 straight, which, 2 losses to Denver and then that disappointing loss to the Lakers without Doncic, okay, whatever. They've won 3 in a row. Biggest victory ever. I almost did an emergency podcast with you that night. Just kidding. They won by 53 over Charlotte. I was shocked to learn that it was 53, that 50 had been the previous record, but 53 is the biggest win in program history. It's talking like I'm covering the Ducks in franchise history. But then, Craig, but then they go and they almost lose at Utah, 114-112.
A team that was doing everything they can to lose.
So Charlotte has the 4th worst record in the NBA, and Utah has the 3rd worst, or flip it around if you want, whatever. And then last night against the Wizards, who have the worst record,
worst.
They were only up 3 with under a minute to go after Marcus Smart hit it. Well, Marcus Smart hits a 3. I guess a minute something to go, and then wants to argue with the officials.
Yeah,
because he
not
thought
good. That's tanking. That's what you call tanking.
That's tanking right there, right?
They're like, Marcus.
I didn't mean to make it. I know I'll get attacked.
What are you doing?
Give him a free point. It's just ridiculous. This is a veteran dude too. But anyway, so they won 3 in a row, but they messed around with 2. Would have been 2 really bad losses at Utah.
Well, let's be honest. But these teams are trying to lose, and they almost won.
Yeah. So the players aren't, but the franchises are. Utah was down their 4 best players: Sexton, Markkanen, Kessler, and Collins. And Chauncey always says, look, when you play a team that's minus a bunch of guys, the bench guys come in, the structure sometimes goes out of the window. They have all this freedom, and these are really good players. I mean, they are. I mean, I've always said this about the NBA. Every player in the NBA could go out there and put up 18 and 9 or whatever if they get the minutes. And I know this just from fantasy leagues. The guy gets hurt, you pick up their backup, and their backup carries you till the other guy comes back, right? So that's true, but still. They're backups on a bad team. You should be able to go in there and clamp them down and not be in a game. It may not be 50 points. It may not be 40 or 30 or 20, but you should be up 15, 13, 12 going into the 4th. That's what I'm saying. And then cruise to win. But anyway, they got the wins. Just real quick, your take on sort of where they are right now after getting this wins. When we know what's looming, it's like out there, right? It's like the Death Star. Like they've battled these little robots on Hoth, but they're still Vader and those Star Destroyers that you got to deal with later if you're Luke, right? So that's OKC, that's Boston, and that's Cleveland, all on the road. Forgive me if you're under 20. I just did a Star Wars analogy. But anyway, Craig, you get it. How do you feel about where they are right now, winning 3 in a row, knowing what's coming down the road?
Yeah, I mean, I like some things. I mean, we're going to talk about, Shaedon. I think his dunk we should just do a podcast on the dunk. I mean, that was amazing. He had a great game. But no, I mean, like I said, I'm not a guy that knows every single player in the NBA, but I pride myself in knowing most of them, like a higher percentage than most people in the world. Utah, like there were people coming off their bench, and I was Googling, because I was like, huh? I'm like, is that the guy from that school? I'm like, oh, I didn't know he was in the league.
Hey, Filipowski is a baller.
He's good. And
I'm being facetious, but he was that night.
No, he was a baller, and he was good in college. I knew who he was. I mean, he looked like every other guy that came from Duke. So, but yeah, they played fine, to win these games in the sense that they played really good in moments and really terrible in moments, and that's kind of where they're at, though. Again, the frustrating part of this team, I'm not going to stop saying it, is if you're a fan, you don't know what you're rooting for. You're supposed to root for improvement. So you just got to take certain moments, like the Shaedon Sharpe, 36 points, dunk of a lifetime. Okay, that's great. Now do it twice. You know what I mean? Like, but you just, that's a victory to me. Shaedon Sharpe doing that. The other things when you beat Utah and your guys are really good for a half and really bad for a quarter, you just go, okay, I guess we survived it. But it kind of stinks that they're gonna get more ping pong balls than we are because we need more help. It's been, some things have been disappointing. You've got some stuff on the list that we'll talk about individually. But I will say this: Scoot has continued to be better consistently. Not perfect, but he hasn't fallen down the rabbit hole. His 3-point shooting is still outstanding. So to me, the longer this streak of positive play from Scoot, that's something you could say, okay, there we go. And then the rest of it still confuses the heck out of me. I don't know what we're doing with Robert Williams. I don't know what we're doing with Jeremy Grant. I don't even know what we're doing with Simons, right? So there's that part where you're like, okay, now what? But game by game, you just got to take the check off victories and like check off Sharpe as a victory for, last night's game.
Okay, so here's where they are in terms of what should you root for. Root for the play-in because the ping pong ball thing is dead.
Yeah.
Dude, they're 10th.
I know, they're not bad enough.
The Spurs, well, Popovich, hope he gets better, has just had a stroke, right? Mini stroke, and he's going to be out for the season. And Wemby is out for the season with the blood clot, which is scary long term, clearly. Yep. So they're already sinking. They're 3-7 in their last 10. They just lost 4 in a row. They're going to sink like a rock. Like they just are. So as a matter of fact, Portland just moved into 12th in the West, a half game ahead of them, and they're only 1.5 from 11th with the Suns, who have their own problems, and they're 4.5 back from the Kings, who I think are going to continue to be up and down. So if the Blazers have another run in them when they come home, play 8 and 9, they might put themselves in position. We're going the last couple of weeks, they're within 2. But anyway, the ping pong ball thing is just dead. Bulls are going to continue to fall. They've fallen past the Blazers. They've won 2 of their last 10. Brooklyn's interesting because they've actually been winning a little bit. They won 6 of the last 10. The Blazers play them on Friday. Blazers could help themselves a little.
And they're a game and a half out of the play-in. So they have reason to go for it.
Philly's kind of still weird because they're 1-9 their last 10. Now Paul George is talking about, whoa, I'm going to stop doing my podcast so we can try and make a run at winning a championship. What? I mean, first of all, I don't think his podcast was hurting him. I think he's just not very good right now because he's been banged up all season. But they're within striking distance of the play-in, so they might try and creep up. But you're 6 games ahead of them, 5.5 ahead of them.
Oh yeah, and they're gonna sit Embiid.
I think eventually you might as well because you're like, okay, even if we got to the play-in, what are we? And we might as well continue to try and fall. And we might, who knows? If we steal a top 3 pick in this draft, that's huge for us moving forward. So I think the Blazers very easily could be at 10 and not have anything to say about it because the teams beneath them are all going to continue to fall. I know for sure my Bulls have given up as well. So, I mean, Atlanta could fall past them. Maybe they're only 1 game, but Atlanta's still decent and still, in the postseason hunt, clearly. So maybe 10 is the number that they end up at. But if they go on a winning stretch, they have a chance to catch Atlanta, Phoenix, Miami. All of a sudden, you get in the play-in, you lose early, but you're picking 13th.
Well, you better lose in the play-in.
Or you lose your pick to my Bulls.
Right. You lose if you win the play-in.
But at that point, it doesn't matter. I mean, might as well give up the pick.
Yes, it matters.
I don't know if it matters anymore at that point. But
assets, man.
So all the plans coming into the season have been ruined by that 10 of 11. And that 10 of 11 happened because Billups, and I believe Cronin too, felt the heat from Jody and/or Burt to show improvement, and they did. And then you're going to probably fire Billups anyway when he overachieved and cost you a shot at Cooper Flag. It's just mesmerizing. Crazy. So if you're a Blazers fan, you might as well just hope for postseason action. So you can get excited about something for a couple of days because the Cooper Flag thing, that's going to take a miracle, which miracles do happen. Atlanta last year, 10th, right? Got the number 1 pick, so they do happen. But pull for the plan because I'm writing. Every time I write, I'm writing about the plan until they're out of it. 1, it's more fun. 2, I get to use things like 4.5. I get to use things like 4.5 and 3.5. Well, I mean, you can always manufacture something.
No, but I'm saying, like, as far as you then would be writing the reverse.
Well, exactly, which I've done too many times in the last few years, right?
It's too complicated.
Well, I mean, yeah. So anyway, so that's sort of where things are, and it's just wild to watch. But I do believe that the end of the dream is probably going to come. Well, I shouldn't say that because they come home for 8 of 9, right? So even if they get shellacked at OKC, at Boston, at Cleveland, they could come home and go on a run. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and that's, and that's where the frustrating part is, because your franchise doesn't have direction.
I take that back. Sorry, I take that back. Just hold on. Okay. They come home for Detroit. That could be L. Go to Golden State. That could be L. Come home, New York, L. Then they got Toronto, Washington. They could win those. Then they got Memphis, L. Denver, L. Boston, L. Cleveland, L. So they've got to play Boston and Cleveland on this road trip, and then the homestand, and then they go to Sacramento. So if they can somehow be within 3.5 going to Sacramento and win that game, then it's 2.5 the rest of the way. They got a shot. If not, they're toast. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, first of all, I'm going to put on the record right now, they're not making the play.
Stop. Someone said that after the Charlotte game the other night, and I'm like, I don't care what they're gonna do. I care about the fact that they're mathematically still in it. Damn it!
I'm just saying. I'm gonna be willing to say it. I'm saying it. I could be wrong. And
you're not wrong, but stop saying it. Let me live the dream.
When you don't have direction.
I need this, Craig. I need it.
I'll give it to you, baby. I mean, you've had so much tank in your life. You need a little bit of something. I'll give it to you.
I feel like I'm in the military, bro. It's just so bad. Anyway, go ahead.
So, this is what happens when your franchise doesn't have a true direction. And you don't know who your coach is going to be, your GM is going to be, and even your owner is going to be. And I see people say, like, there's no way they're going to sell the team because it's going to be worth so much more. If they would have sold it, 2 years ago, they would have lost out on $1 billion, but it's for the trust. So eventually they're going to sell the team for less money than it would be worth at a future time. Unless the NBA does something that it hasn't done, which is start losing value in franchises.
Right.
Which is not it. We just don't know what the motivation factor will be to sell and where the pressure comes from. I still believe Adam Silver and the NBA will at some point in time make a decision to say enough. We don't want a team owned in a trust. We don't want an owner that never, ever, ever talks out loud to the public. It's just not great. It's not great for the city. Look, this would not, in other places, the fact that there is no voice from ownership would not go this quiet. Because fan bases would just not stand for it. To the point of complete and total, utter freezing out things to the, you know what I mean? Like it would just be too much. But we don't have a climate here of sports radio viciousness. When the Knicks owner didn't talk, it's just every single day they hammer him until they find, and the GM, and now they get Rosen's done an incredible job, and they still kill him for not talking. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. That's the hard part. Is you said it. Like, what is Chauncey? How does Chauncey survive? Is he a shoe-in for next year, or is it he gone? What about Joe Cronin? I mean, who's gonna decide? Everyone wants to say Bert Cold, but if you say that out loud close to someone with the Blazers, they're like, oh no, Jody's here. Jody's got this. So that's the confusion about this team, is the direction part. And this is what hurts you, right? 10 out of 11 changed the direction of the team. It was tag. Oh crap.
They were in perfect position. They lost 4 in a row. They were 13-28. It was all falling to pieces. All they had to do was start manufacturing injuries like they've done the last few years. And they could be in the bottom 5 right now, at least. And then Chauncey was told, we need to do better. And he was like, all right.
And he
benched Sharpe. And he benched Shaedon. And the defense went from one of the worst in the league to the best over 11-game stretch. And other things were done too. So I mean, we talked about this last podcast. It's crazy. So that's why I just say you just have to go all in, man. Like, because let me ask you this: if they were to somehow make the plan or even come close, Chauncey's overachieved and then some. How do you justify firing him or not bringing him back?
To me, the window of justifying firing Chauncey Billups is over. Like, if they do it and keep Cronin, it just makes no sense to me. To me, if you wanted to tank, then you fired Chauncey Billups after the 4-game losing streak, and you don't tell him to go.
You let him walk last summer.
Well, fine. I mean, yes.
Or
we got to go further back. But I'm saying, I was talking like you started this year with him. You made that decision already. So now, to me, you put an interim coach in. I mean, you put Caleb Canales type in there, a guy that you know is not going to be a head coach, and you know will play whoever you want to play to lose, and no one's going to be mad at because everyone likes him. He's a great assistant coach that connects with players. They understand what the direction is. We're here to tank. What's OKC did, and they kept their guy. You know, they said tank. We're not going to judge you on those losses. And they stuck with them, and look where they are now. Other teams say, okay, we're tanking. We're going to get one more, and then we're going to bring in a new coach that's going to take us when we stop tanking. Right. They're trying to do everything at once with no direction. And Chauncey, again, I keep saying, I don't think this is going to just be the Blazers' decision. At some point, Chauncey might just say, no. Like, go to his agent. And they've already started that kind of talk. You know, he's doing the best, he's doing the best he can. He doesn't know what his future is. Like, they're setting it up for him to be able to say at one point, if he wants to, like, nah, man, if either, you know what, or get off the pot with me. Either give me a 3-year extension or let's work out a separation agreement here where I go somewhere else and you let me go and we're good. I just see it that way because I think that Chauncey, that stretch there and what he's doing, it's setting up his next job if he needs it.
Right. All right. Let's move on to one of the young men that a lot of people have a lot of high hopes for, and that is Shaedon Sharpe, who scored the most points off the bench by a Blazer since Travis Outlaw in 2007, I think I saw.
That
36
I witnessed that one.
Yeah. Did you? You probably did, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Sharpe went off, had a great game, great shooting, 13 to 26, I think. I got to the free throw line a lot. Chauncey credited him for playing great defense. But still,
rebounding.
Yeah, 8 rebounds, I think, or
8 rebounds,
6 assists, 5 or 6 assists.
Yeah, it was the best game. Still,
so let me ask you this: best game, yeah. So I kind of walked away from this thinking, okay, he was fantastic, but you play enough, you're gonna randomly have a fantastic night.
Yeah,
we don't need to see 36 a night from this kid, but it would be nice to see consistency. And to give him some credit, I'm trying to go back here. Previous, looks like 8 or 9 games. He's been pretty good.
His last 10 games, he's still shooting 44% overall and 30.8 from 3. It's not good.
Over his last how many?
That last 10 is what I'm looking at here.
Oh, yeah, because he had a 1-6, 1-6, 1-6, 1-7, 1-4. Yeah, 3-point hasn't been good, but his overall field goal percentage, 44. I'll take that all day. And his point totals weren't bad. So my point is he's not where he needs to be, but he's been a little bit better. And this was a big night. And I just sort of look at it like, okay, we need more of that level of Sharpe, not the 36 part. It can be the 22 part. It can be, and 4 and 4, but something consistent that we can latch onto and say, okay, this is the guy moving forward. Because right now, and we've talked about this before, they don't have that guy. Like they don't have anyone yet that you're looking at and saying, this is the guy who's going to be the focal point moving forward. And it's the same thing with Klingon. Klingon now is starting. He had those 2 big games in Denver, and he's done nothing since, really. He can't stay on the court for various reasons, whether it's foul trouble, whether it's smaller centers giving him trouble or what have you. And so he hasn't stepped up and embraced and seized this opportunity either. So between Scoot, Shaedon, and Klingon, have they given you any more hope in the last few days that they can be anything more than what they are right now, which is just solid young players?
Well, I don't think Klingon's solid yet, but I didn't expect it. I mean, that's just not fair to him. Klingon shouldn't be starting an NBA basketball game right now. Klingon should not be playing more than 15 minutes a game. He's playing
very 20 in the last 4 games.
In very specific 20 situations. You know what I mean? Like, he's thrown in there and he's doing the best he can. He's not in great shape. I'm not judging anything about Klingon. Everything that I've seen from Klingon says he was the right. They picked him for the reasons he picked him, and they're all still there. He's going to rebound. He's a monster shot blocker. He has potential on the offensive side. He's so young. He's not in shape. There's potential there for him to be a solid NBA player. No one thought he was going to be an all-star type. So I'm cool with him. He's going to get tired. He's never played like this before. You know, this isn't how the college season goes in the sense that every night you're against. I mean, he played against guys that I'm like, well, I'm 7 inches taller than you and 150 pounds heavier. So I think I'll be good. And oh, yeah, by the way, all I'm supposed to do is dunk when they give me the ball and block every shot I can. And when I get tired, I come out when we're up 20. So everything's great. You know, like he wasn't. So it's really hard. Everything is hard. You know, in college, he guarded his guy. He came off, blocked the shot, watched his guys go down the other end and lay it in. Here, he blocks a shot. The next guy picks it up and dunks it on him because they're really good. My thing with Shaedon is that's what we saw. He scored 36, had the best game of his career against the worst team in the NBA who was trying to lose. So you can't get crazy about it, but you can say, well, that's as good as you could do in that game, right? Like, that's great. So I'm happy with that. What I'm not happy about is that there's times where you forget he's on the court. And then he dunks that way. I'm sorry. We have to talk a little bit about that. Okay. That dunk was ridiculous. And that kind of athleticism.
We've seen that before, man. Come on. We've seen him do better than that.
Oh, I don't know. An in-game dunk like that? Almost on someone. Not quite on someone, but almost.
Don't you remember the one he had on Walker Kessler? He had one on Walker Kessler that was better.
Look, and they're fun. I'm just saying, those moments are like, well, he should have been in the dunk contest. That's one.
Yeah, jeez.
But that kind of aggressiveness, that's the kind of thing you see from great players. You know what I mean? And because they're that much better athletes than people. And then they refine everything else. So I love that moment. And obviously a guy in the G League can probably jump, you know what I mean, and dunk every once in a while. But yeah, the shooting to me is worrisome. Shot selection is worrisome. And the fact that he's still not playing defense the way Billups wants him to. Because it's like he threw in the defense because he knew. It feels like Billups was like, I'm going to make sure I say something about his defense because we all know that's the problem. And if we watch tape on this, we're going to see some problems. And so that's it. And consistency, he can't shoot 30% from three. Like, he just can't. And shoot the way as many as he does.
And the types of threes he takes.
And the types he three. Like, don't take Devin Booker type threes, dude. You're not making those yet. And that's why I give tons of credit for Scoot. They looked at analytics. They looked at what he can do best. And they're like, spot up, dude. You're so much better on spot up threes. Don't do the step back craziness. And it's improved so much. So now every once in a while you take a step back. He still usually misses those, but you're like, well, you earned that. You earned that. You're 3 for 5. You can go 3 for 6. I'm cool with 50%. But what I'm not cool with is, there's literally 4 seconds off the shot clock and I'm in a Shaedon Sharpe 3-pointer. And sometimes he makes them, but I'm still like, oh no. But yeah, consistency. He's still young. And there's still hope. And look, there's 30 more games of the season to see some consistency. By the end of the year, you hope he's in the starting lineup at this point.
I'm gonna save this for a factor Fentress. Okay, I just thought something really good. All right, so we talked about injuries. Let's talk about injuries and Jeremy Grant.
All right.
Jeremy just can't break out of the slump, man. He had a solid game the other night. I kind of wrote something a little bit about him busting out a little bit. He was 6 for 15, right? But he was 5 for 10 on threes. Then he comes in last night.
It was a good first half.
Yeah, comes in last night again, not good. It's when they get back, I probably need to sit down and ask him what's been going on. But him declining the season the way he has is shocking to me. He's not old, right? He's only 30, 31, and his shooting percentage, field goal percentage has gone the last 3 years 47, 45. Yeah, 47, 45, 37. That's just nuts. And the 3-point has gone from 40 to 36.6 as of right now. 36.6 is not horrible, but clearly for him, it's not that good.
But it's below league average.
Right, and it's below his average, or his recent years, I should say.
If you're below league average on something,
what's league average?
It's like 38, I think.
League average is 38 now?
Hold on, let me look.
Damn.
It might be 36, but
I think it's 36. 38 is pretty good.
It's higher than you think.
He's averaging 14.4 points per game, down from 21 last year. Now, he's taking 3 fewer shots, but still, that should drop him to maybe 18, not 14. They're not going to bench him because they pay him too much money. It would just be such a bad look. But realistically, at this point, I've defended him for a long time. You could justify it because you have 2 other forwards who are outplaying him, and then you still have your center position, and you have 3 guards you can choose 2 from to start. But what do you make of what's going on with him from afar? Because if he somehow turned it around and became what he was last year, they have a shot to make the play. That's how much of an impact he could have if he turned things around.
So I just think he's never that good as a focal point. He has nothing to play for. He got his bag. I mean, there's all these things. He doesn't understand probably where he fits on the team currently or in the future. So if Denny's hurt for a while, they need him. But when Denny isn't hurt, he's not stupid. He's a smart guy. He looks and says, okay, well, we know Tamani's going to be playing a lot. He's the future. We know Denny's the future because they traded a lot for him and he's playing great. So I guess I'm not the future. And they didn't trade me because there's no way I think he didn't silently ask to be traded and that they didn't silently tell him they were trying. And he reads what everyone reads. Contract stinks. It's hard to move. And that can't be a great motivating factor. And he can't be a focal point of what they're doing. So where's his motivation? He is not a super talkative guy on the court. He's not that kind of a leader, where he's like, oh, well, I'm just going to be Chris Paul then on the team, yell at everybody and get them better. And say, I'll take the young kids and, and break them down and build them up. He's just not like that.
Right.
So, and while he's declined, his best years aren't great. They're just good. And now they're bad. So, but I mean, people guard him sometimes, and that's harder to score on. But he doesn't take great shots anymore. You know what I mean? The shots he takes are contested and difficult. I can't remember the last time he got a dunk, like a wide open, a dunk or an easy layup.
Right.
They just don't come. I mean, you watch Kamani and Denny, Denny's got more N1s than he's almost close to he's whatever that statistic is, top non-all-star N1s that we keep getting from the broadcast. But I mean, he's consistently going to the rim, getting easy shots. Tumani's getting to the rim more. I just don't see Grant getting those little, oh, there's Grant for a quick layup. Great pass from da-da-da. That's who Grant is, Make the cut, find it. Not just, one-on-one with your guy. That's not his game. And now he's just shooting threes because he's like, well, I might as well. And so I don't know what you expect from a guy who has no business being on a rebuilding team when you have 2 young forwards on it, and he wants to be a starter. Billups still starts him. As angry as people get sometimes, he's still getting out there.
It's part of the lack of direction for the entire mess right now because, like you said, I think if he somehow landed on a good team, all of his numbers would go up. Efficiency numbers would all go up. The shooting percentages would go up. Everything would go up. Because I think what you just said, he doesn't necessarily want to be in this situation. He doesn't want to. No. He wants to win, and so he got the money. He took that 5th extra year. Right? He could have walked. He could have walked and looked for a 4-year, $100 million deal with a good team. But no, he took the 5-year, $160 million deal, which I don't blame him, I guess. But this is the cost of doing business because now you're difficult to trade. I just looked up the stats: 36.6% from 3 for around.
So right in the middle,
right? But dude, just 4 years ago, it was 34 something.
Yeah. So he's right.
I'm just saying that. So in 4 more years, it's going to be 38. Then in 4 more years, it's going to be. Yeah.
Unless they change something, which they might.
Okay. All right. So that's Grant. So then Denny. Okay. If Denny's out for any length of time, along with Ayton, they're toast. They're barbecue chicken, as they like to say.
Yeah.
This team cannot operate with both of those guys out. Well, they do too much.
We joke. I believe. I think consistently, Denny's been the best player. Consistently. All year. Or maybe the most valuable for long stretches. And he handles the ball so much when he's out there as a point forward.
Right.
And I don't want to say by far, but yeah, I think it's fair to say he's their, Tumani and him are their emotional heartbeat. Simons is so calm, Sharpe's calm, Scoot's calm, Grant's calm. Like, they show nobody's angrier when there's a foul called on him, right? Denny's upset. He's upset when the foul's not called on him. He's hitting the floor. He's doing it just, they bring the energy, but the ball's in his hands so much, and he rebounds, scores, and assists, and plays great D. So he'll be a huge. They've played well without him at times, but consistently they won't be the same. And to be honest, it stinks because that's what you want to see. You want to see him playing with Scoot and Shaedon and Simons, and that's it. I'll stop there because I don't have. Who else do we throw in there?
He might not be the best on the team at anything other than maybe getting into the paint, but he's good at almost everything.
Yeah.
Whereas everyone else has their clear weaknesses. And he plays with, this is one of the things they said on draft night, is they're like, we love his tenacity, we love his aggression, we love his competitiveness, he plays with fire. Even Dame, when I talked to Dame last summer, he was like, yeah, I like Denny. He's like, I would like to have played with Denny. Yeah. Wink, wink. Maybe they should have traded for Denny when Dame was here. But anyway, so yeah, that
for all intents and purposes, for what we know and what people say, great teammate.
Right, exactly.
Last night the Wizards were like super glad to see him. The crowd chanted for him.
I know. And he gets on people too. He gets on people for making silly mistakes, which is something the team has lacked since Dame left, and something Chauncey really wants. So, let's hope that's not too bad. All right, let's end this thing with a fact or Fentress. I got one for you.
All right, hit me.
All right. Fact or Fentress, and I don't know if I have an opinion on this yet, so it's another one of those.
You better get one.
The Detroit Pistons just won 8 in a row. They're in the playoff hunt. I think they're 6th right now in the East.
Blew out the Celtics.
And leading the cause is Cade Cunningham, the number one pick. The number one pick in 2021, who, as a rookie, shot 41-31, then shot 41-28. Then last season, 45-35. 35 in this season, 46, 36, averaging 25, 9, and 6. So it's another example. There's tons of these of guards who start out shooting poorly, especially when they're 19, 20, 21-year-old kids. Like, that's just not unusual. And then he blew up and he's become an all-star. He's become, someone asked if he was a superstar the other day. I'm like, no, you have to accomplish stuff before you can be called a superstar. You can't just be a one-time all-star. You need to be all NBA a couple of times. You need to get some MVP votes. You need to lead your team to a playoff series victory. Then you can be maybe discussed in the superstar category. But so factor Fentress. The Blazers have a guy on this roster who can shaking your head already, who could develop as Cade Cunningham has and become the number one player / all-star on a resurgent Blazer team that makes the playoffs. Factor Fentress, I'm saying no, but not impossible.
Yeah, I agree. No, not impossible. Two things. He's 6'6".
Yes, he is.
That's a big difference.
6'6" point guard. Gotta love him.
I'm just saying, he's 3 inches taller than Shaedon, and he's 5 inches taller.
He's 1.5. Shaedon's 6'4.5. Legit.
All right. I'm just saying and Shaedon plays 2 anyway, but he's 6'6".
He's a lot bigger than Shaedon too. He's 220. I think Shaedon maybe 190.
And he always was. And Scoot's 6'1",
Shaedon's
6'2".
200 allegedly.
And he's got the build, but he's 4 inches shorter. The second thing is,
quit shorting these guys. Scoot's a legit 6'3".
I'm just saying, one's a tall point guard, one's not. Scoot's a.
I know, but you just shorten these guys. Just come on,
I do.
Give them.
Look,
give them what.
I'm trying to help myself. What I'll say is this: in his rookie year, he shot 42%, 31% for 3, but he averaged 17.4 points a game. His next year was out only played 12 games. He was averaging 20. And then last year he averaged 23. And this year he's averaged 25.7. So he was always an alpha, in my opinion. And that's a little bit of the difference. You know what I mean? He was an alpha. Even when he was bad, he kept shooting. You know what I mean? He had that attitude. You were like, oh, dude, you're 1 for 12. Maybe stop. No, I'm Cade Cunningham. I'm going to be good. And now he's great. And that's what we haven't seen from either one of them is the alpha. So much so that their coach called it, begging them to alpha it up. He's begged, them both basically to just go. Be aggressive. Show your athleticism. So that's why I say no. But, last night, Shaedon Sharpe was exactly that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to hold out hope for Shaedon, especially that it's going to click for him at some point.
Yep.
Right? And then all of a sudden 17, 18 becomes 23, 24 just because he's shooting better. And he's still, he didn't play at all at Kentucky. He basically just sat out an entire season. He missed 50 games last year. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because the physical gifts are just ridiculous. And
ridiculous.
The fearlessness is insane. He just doesn't care. His eyes light up when he sees someone big in the lane. He just goes in there to try
and part of this bad shot selection is because he has no fear.
Right, exactly. Now, I do wish there was one game, I think it might have been last year, where he should have pulled up in the lane late in the game and instead flew in like a crazy man and they ended up costing him a possession. But anyway, I'm holding out hope for Shaedon. But yeah, that's what you need to see. You need someone to pop like that. I don't know if it's going to happen, but we'll find out. All right. We're done.
We did it.
Good work. Thanks for listening to the Blazer Focus podcast. We'll be back
thanks
soon.
Thanks to people, man. Thank them.
Blazers on a roll right now. We'll see if they can last. Take care.